MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by The Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below. Alright, good morning. I'm just going to be on the mic temporarily. This morning I'm actually simming. Well, not really. I'm just testing some things out. So I'm not really live trading this morning. Yesterday, throughout the week I've been hearing things, well, all the time really. It's been for a while that I've been hearing people talk about ES a certain type of way. So yesterday, for the first time, I decided to kind of put ES and NQ side by side on my charts, and so that's what I'm looking at today. I'm actually going to look at them side by side today. And yesterday I just looked at ES only, and that's just an observation day. So that's the movement for this morning. Just wanted to go ahead and put that note in there. Gives an interesting look to I keep everything the same. So that's what we're looking at. So I'm going to jump back off the mic for a minute. one more thing to note, I may actually do some testing of some things as well. So it's a good time to mention that if you're following what I'm doing, you're doing it wrong. Yeah, it's not a good idea to copy what other people are doing, especially when you don't understand the context fully. Just wanted to go ahead and put that disclaimer out there. We know the disclaimer.
Order filled. 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 Order filled.
Just want to jump back on for a quick second, for a brief moment. I'm glad I actually decided to do this. Like, it's interesting watching ES and NQ just print identically, but they do kind of paint a, just looking at the energy, there's a difference. But another time to go ahead and put out the disclaimer to don't, trading is an individual sport. I had just made just testing things out. I'm glad I'm testing too, because I made a mistake on that last little thing there, and I actually hit the wrong button. But it's just what I wanted to really say is, while I'm trading this, I also have some ES traders narrating in my ear, and it's just really interesting to watch it for myself and hear, because usually NQ and ES, a lot of times they do print similarly in terms of just the overall structure, from my perspective, of course. But so a lot of times I will hear an ES trader speaking about the market, from their perspective, from their lens, and then I'll be watching NQ and I'll forget that they're talking about ES while I'm trading NQ, and I just have to remind myself that, oh well, they're talking about another futures product while I'm then I'm trading. So I have to just constantly remind myself that sometimes, because at times they do trade similarly. So I just wanted to put that out there. Might clip that out and make that, repurpose that for something. I don't know why my stream.
Order filled. Order filled. Order filled. Order filled.
Alright, I'm really glad I took this time to do this today. Picked up some interesting information. And I'm probably going to start doing this, make Fridays my testing day for the most part. And I'll do this with different futures products. But anyway, quick tea break and let's get to the second half of the show. MV3 Traders Futures Trade Radio is brought to you by The Ultimate Trader's Guide, your one-stop shop for the most valuable income-producing information on the internet. Go to ultimatetradersguide.net to learn more. Link in the description below. Alright, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the second half of the show. Alright, sound check's coming through good. Actually, kind of messed up the intro a bit, but it's all good. I think I definitely want to continue doing my Friday test thing, so I think that's how I'm going to do the Friday streams from now on. I actually have some more ideas for things I want to do in that fashion. So, with that being said, just let me know in the comment section and all that stuff what y'all think about it. Of course, I like to hear other people's opinions about what I'm doing, and if, hit the like button, all that good stuff. So far, actually I haven't even really did much of an analysis of the market as I've been trading. So let me readjust my screens real quick and see what we're looking at. All right. Okay, so a whole bunch of momentum to the long side as I was hearing the narration in my ear as I was doing my testing. So we did see a lot of, we're seeing inventory mark up at certain points. So up until like the last few minutes, like the last 2 or 3 minutes, 2 to 4 minutes, where we're starting to find us some supply right above PR plus 3. Took us back into automation, and we picked up some inventory at automation that we quickly sold off as supply, and now we're marking down inventory in a much needed fashion, because it's like this is what I would call a healthy pullback. We did have it take off a little bit. That was an interesting print on the 3 minute. It's very consistent and mechanical, and at this point I'll be looking to see if we continue in that fashion, and that stair-stepping fashion, or do they flip the script? Give me a couple minutes while I bring up some notes. So I'm gonna get a little smoother with this eventually. Just trying out some different things. So I think from now on, this section of the stream is gonna be called something to the effect of trader triggers, or trader triggers from the streets, or something like that. And I'm working with, as I stay tapped in, I see certain things. So I saw this someone was asking about systems and strategies. I guess he's a new trader or whatever, just getting interested in it, and he was asking about, I don't remember exactly what the question was, but he was asking about systems and strategies in terms of, trading, and I think finding a good strategy or finding a good system. And from Anonymous, where's my thing? Someone was responded with this right here. This person is gonna remain anonymous, of course. But this response was interesting to me. where they replied, well, first of all, trading is not a system, it's an art. And what you should be looking for is to learn about order flow and auction theory and how to read a proper DOM like Jigsaw Trader. Now the beat dropped at an interesting moment right there, but this is one of these kind of comments that I hear, are projections that I hear in the market that, you know, triggered me to put out content, or that triggers me to put out content. Because we'll just start here. From what Mr. Anonymous said here, he's right. He's right, or it's true because he believes it. So whatever you believe is the truth, but it's his truth, right? So you can even kind of read into this where there may be a little bit of selling going on, but I'm not even going to address that part of it. What I'm going to talk about is how our beliefs, we can believe in certain things so much because how it serves us, which is cool. That's the good part. And if you find something that works for you, lean all the way into it and let it work for you. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Where it gets a little fuzzy is when we start projecting that out as it's supposed to be everybody's truth. And I can just say off, you know, just on the surface, for me, that doesn't hit the same as it does for him, right? So there is nothing that everybody in this environment should know how to do or should be doing, other than simple stuff like knowing how to buy and sell, right? Of course, if you're in this environment, you should know how to buy and sell, obviously, duh, right? And then, you know, protecting your capital. But again, that's up to you. If you don't want to protect your capital, if that's how you get down, then, you know, be down, right? But like, there's very few things, I'll put it that way. There's an extremely low amount of things that every trader needs to know. And that, you know, that's just the standard across the board that everybody should be doing, right? This is why I try to be, you know, I give advice the way that I give it, or that I project the way that I project. You know, being conscious of someone else's reality, right? And that's, for me, I think, you know, without talking too much about me, I think it's a kind of a gift of mine. I've always been able to, you know, see things like this ever since I can remember, right? Being able to, quote unquote, put myself in other people's shoes, so to speak. Of course, there's limitations to that, right? I can't be someone else. I can't know exactly your experience or what you feel about a certain experience. But for the most part, I've been able to, you know, relate on a certain level to what other people's perspectives and, you know, where they are in their journey or whatever it is. All right. So anyway, getting back to this. So the main part of this I wanted to talk about is the system part, where he mentions, the Mr. Anonymous mentions that trading is not a system, it's an art. So that's it. There's so many layers to this, but we'll just start at the human side of it, right? So the only way that trading can be completely, so you have two levels of trading, right? Two styles of trading, or two approaches to this, where you can be discretionary or you can be systematic, right? And then add another layer to that, then you have the hybrid approach, where you kind of mix both of them. Now, from my view, most traders sit in the hybrid side of it, right? They use a hybrid method to where they have a system, but they are discretionary towards the way that they use that system, right? They use that system with discretion. And from the way that I see it, as a human, it's nearly impossible to get away from the discretionary side of trading, or discretionary side of doing anything, just because of emotions and all of that stuff. Especially when you start to see drawdown, right? So when everything is working great, you can stick to your system, you can be completely systematic. But once once things start to turn in a way that you don't like or that are against your desires, it's a natural tendency to become a little bit more discretionary with how you approach whatever it is that you're doing. And just from that standpoint alone, I'm assuming that's what he's talking about with the artistic side of it, right? Because the artistic side would be a little bit more along the lines of being discretionary and how you have your talents and your skills and you're looking at whatever you're looking at, and then you're executing based off of what you're looking at in a discretionary, aka artistic way. Now let's talk about art for a minute. And this is coming from an artist where I have kind of the visual artistic talent a little bit, right? And I kind of do it with my, on the digital side. Now, before, when I was younger, I used to draw a little bit. But coming from an artist, most artists have a systematic approach to creating their art, right? So, for instance, my artistic side comes out the most musically. And if I'm producing a beat, right, or a composition or whatever, if I'm producing a song, whatever it is, I'll have a systematic approach to the way I do that. So let's just say you have your different layers, your different components that'll make a full composition or a full musical piece. You have your drums, right? You have your melodies, right? Or you can break that down into different instruments, right? So normally the way that I would do it, a lot of times the way it comes to me just naturally is I'll come up with the drums first. The drums usually hit me first, and then I kind of feeds into me being a drummer, right? So I'll lay down the drums first, and then I'll throw a melody on top of it, right? And then I'll rearrange that to make it, to put the artistic side into it and just be creative with it and make it an original, unique piece, right? And then I go to the phase to where I'm what we call mixing, to where I'm adjusting levels and I'm doing some more arranging and just kind of tweaking the overall piece for a unique sound, or the individual pieces or the tracks inside of the overall composition to get a unique sound, right? Or to play with the sounds. And then I'll master, and then I may go back and forth between mixing and mastering until I get that work of art to sound the way that I want it to sound. Now, just because that's my systematic approach, that doesn't mean I have to stick to that all the time. And sometimes, I may wake up inspired with a melody in my head, and then I'll start with the melody this time. But rarely will you ever find a musical artist that'll start with mastering the whole composition before they start mixing. Now, I say rarely because it does happen sometimes. I've even done it myself, and that's where the systematic approach comes in, because that's not the ideal way to do it, and you can end up taking what was maybe a couple hour project that can extend out to a couple days because you went outside of your system. So all of that being said, right, that's just an analogy to paint the picture of how you can, how we can apply, or how being systematic is a function of trading, right? I haven't personally met any trader who's completely 100% discretionary. If that person exists, I would love to know about them. So if you know about them, put them in the chat, comment section. Every trader that I've seen from all, from the whole variety of whatever results they are capable of producing, they have a systematic approach to doing what they're doing, or to doing what they do, whether that's how they execute on the strategy, or deciding what to trade and when to trade it, right? All of these different things is part of the systematic side of conducting your trading business. So it's in my opinion that trading in and of itself, just from that, right, there's even more layers to it as I'm speaking this out and I'm thinking at the same time. It goes deeper. So, trading is systematic just in the function of how this market operates, right? The way that market makers are able to do what they're able to do, because most participants do what they do in a systematic way. So they can rely on the systematic approach of the average participant, of the masses, in order to facilitate their inventory in a way where they can, conduct their business. And they have a systematic approach to the way that they do it. Having a system improves your consistency. This is why I find it hard to. I think it's a rarity to be able to trade completely discretionary. Because let's just go down that route for a minute. So if you're completely doing this in an artistic way, that means at any given time, on any given day, you can place a trade. You haven't picked out a certain time or a day that you want to be interested in taking a trade. It's just on a whim, right? Just whenever the feeling hits, you look at what you look at and then you execute. And then from that, you're not looking at anything to pick out a pattern, right? You don't have this. If you're doing it completely as an art, you really can't have that kind of makes having a risk management plan difficult, right? Because if it's completely an art, then there's no plan to it, right? If it's completely discretionary, then there's no plan to it. So you're just taking risk just whenever you feel like it. You're accepting risk whenever you feel like it, if you accept risk, right? And then you're taking profit whenever you feel like it, which, also breeds a lot of inconsistencies into the results that you're going to get. And just overall, it's going to be hard to stick to, in my opinion. Okay, I could be wrong. It's going to be hard to stick to this business in a way where you're just doing it purely as an art form without a system. And we can look at the greatest, who's been called the greatest investor of our time, right? And Warren Buffett, he definitely has a systematic approach to picking or making investment decisions, including, how he invests into businesses and how he buys businesses and the way that he approaches his thing. He started out in a systematic approach. So, I just found that to be an interesting comment that I saw yesterday, and I thought that would be a good one to talk about this morning, because I just really can't see how, just on that side, how you can see that as a truth. It doesn't align with what the way that I see things. But if that's his truth, then that's his truth. And good for Mr. Anonymous. I'm just giving my perspective on it. So while I was doing all of that, we had a nice dump of supply, taking us back to a level of, one of my indicators. This is an indicator to have on my 3-minute chart that I don't even look at. What I would call MSRP is these indicators that I kept up only are indicators that I would refer to as MSRP, because it's almost an industry standard at this point, similar to the VWAP. And then I have another one here that's a little more esoteric, which I also call MSRP. So anytime I talk about MSRP, I'm talking about an indicator. And we're finding inventory off of one of these MSRP levels at 694. before I forget, I need to go ahead and mark off my triggers. Speaking of trader triggers. So definitely, if you're listening to this, the replay of this, you know, go ahead and leave your opinion on what I just broke down into the in the comment section. You know, I like to hear what other people think, of course. Sometimes, you know, the things that I see out there, the advice that I see given is very extremely interesting, to put it mildly. I think next week I'm going to, on my comparison testing, the first half of the stream, I think I'm going to do, we'll do it this way, right? I'm probably going to do GC. I'm thinking about doing GC gold futures, but you know, I'm open to suggestions. I'm also thinking about looking at the Qs. I should be able to pull up stocks on this chart. You know, Sierra chart can be so funny sometimes with the data, but I should be able to see that, at least the delayed data, which, you know, we'll see. I'll test some things out, and we'll see how that goes next week. But as of right now, I'm going to do GC, but if you have another one in mind, then I'll do that one. Make sure I get my back office, take the screenshot before I get it, put these triggers inside of the Discord. Let me get one more. See what is Wholesale doing. So Wholesale is still holding that inventory zone, and I'm on ES. Let me go back to NQ. Kind of messed up my setup there. Tripping on the set, messing up. All right, there we go. Now I got my setup back to where it's supposed to look. All right, so let me bring back NQ. Now, something else I found interesting, and that's just for all my numbers geeks, just kind of geeking out on the numbers, was my power range high and low levels, to where the PR low was at 1111, right? 11,011, and then the PR high was at 1164. So if you look at 64 takes you back to a 1 and a 0. So you got a lot of 1 and 0s for my power range high and low levels. That was just something, just geeking out on the numbers, nerding out on the numbers. And now we're seeing inventory. What triggered that thought was I'm seeing inventory off of 110. So more 1s and 0s that we're picking up some inventory. But we have automation right above us at 11,120. And a rough, so we're holding up the shop here in a rough 10-point range. And how we come up out of this shop here should be interesting. We just dropped inventory back into some MSRP. And I realized when I was doing my analysis earlier, I was looking at ES, but they pretty much moved the same. So, they pretty much moving the same this morning. So that's it's not even really that big of a deal. And we're starting to pick up some inventory off of MSRP. And I'll be looking to see if we continue to, find more discounts. And then what they will be looking to do with the inventory that they've collected since they started this drop. I started this markdown around 1021-ish. So that's what I'll be looking at for the rest of the day. We're starting to set up another shop down here off of MSRP, which I think this is a pivotal point. And then it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, but I won't be around to watch it. So appreciate everybody for coming through. Again, as always, if you're watching this after the fact, leave all your comments and everything in the comment section below. Hope you have a good rest of your session and a good weekend. And we'll see you on the next one. Trade it easy.